Planetary collisions, weird fashion trends, Boeing going down in flames, and why aren't there any green stars? All that and more in today's lightning round video. Hey everybody, welcome to the April lightning round video. If you're not familiar with lightning round videos, this is where I take questions from Patreon members and channel members who support at the solar system level. That's kind of a perk that you get. You get to ask questions and I answer it. And the deal is I don't know any of these questions beforehand. I'm going in blind. I am giving myself a little bit of an opportunity to just do quick searches on things because I want to be able to give some kind of an answer, but that's what we're doing here today. Here we go. We've got a couple of new people today that have never asked a question before, starting with Elon S., who I believe is a brand new Patreon supporter. And I think I'm saying your name right. Elon? But here was your question. Scenario: you will be forced to time travel one way and will only be allowed to take clothes and whatever items you fit in a standard backpack. You can decide on the location. Question: what would you bring with you if you were to travel to the 2100s, 2050s, 1950s, 1900s, 1800s, 1500s, 500s, 500 BCE, what would you solve for? Power, wealth, survival, etc. What would I solve for? I'm not sure what you mean by that. So I gotta be honest, this is a great question and I might have to make a video out of this. Like a lot of times with these, I don't really have a good answer and it's like, I may have to research that and do a full video on it, but this would just be a fun, full-scale video. Okay, so you got the 2100s and the 2050s. Those are in the future. What would I bring with me to the future? I wouldn't even know where to start. I feel like I would just be a living time capsule basically. So I would probably just want to bring with me, I don't know, what could I bring with me that they would be really fascinated by? For 2100, I think just bringing a smartphone, I think that might be a relic by that point and they might find that interesting. 2050s, they'd probably still have something like that around, or at the very least people would still be around that remember that. In 1950s, I think I would probably want to bring a phone too, just because I think that's technology that they could possibly wrap their heads around because they have a telephone and it's like, oh hey, this is something that you can carry around. There's an evolution, a progression there that they could understand. 1900s and before, I'm telling you right now, the first thing I'm packing is antibiotics because that would not be available at the time. 1800s is a wide category. I've said this a million times, but the world changed so much between 1800 to 1900. It would kind of depend on where I was going there. Obviously, I would bring my sports almanac so that I could place bets and make whole lots of money. So the 1500s, obviously depending on where in the world you are, I guess we're assuming I'm staying here in North America. I would be way out of place there. No, and there were Europeans over here at that point. Beef jerky, how about that? I'd bring beef jerky. I think the natives around here would understand beef jerky. If I was going to England, I would need some kind of dictionary, or I would need to plan and learn, what is that, Middle English? I do find that an interesting question, like how far back in time could you go before you couldn't recognize English anymore? I think by the 1500s I could still understand it some, but it would be challenging. In the 500s, and especially 500 BCE, I think I would be useless. There's a comedian that makes a joke that if he went back in time, he would probably be, he has no knowledge that would help him back then, and I think that's absolutely true. It's a joke and it's funny, but I think that's absolutely true. If I went to 500 or previous, even before that, I would have no idea how to live. So I would need some kind of book to explain how to exist back then. But like I said, this is a very interesting question. I think it's deserving of its own video. So let's just put that in the ballot box. I'll let you guys vote on it. But I would like to actually make a video. Like if I was traveling back in time, what would I pack? And physically, do that. So you guys tell me if you want to see it. All right, next up we have a new person, Rafe Zero Humor Singer. I've never had you ask a question on here before, so let's get to yours. You ask, why no green stars? The usual explanation is lame. Yellow is just as much in the middle of the spectrum as green, but tons of yellow stars. What gives? Okay, so for the first thought that I have on this is I'm asking myself, what burns green? What flame? Because there are things that burn green. I think stuff with copper in it burns green, but stars don't burn. It's not a flame. It's a fusion process. So stars, as we know, red stars are cooler than blue stars. They kind of go from blue to red, and there's all kinds of yellows and stuff in between. But you're right, there aren't any green stars. I'll admit I cheated just a little bit. I did a little Google search here just to look this up because I wasn't quite sure how to answer this. But apparently there's this black body spectrum that stars release electromagnetic radiation in. And basically a star that kind of produces across the rainbow spectrum, but it produces as much red light as it does green light. And our eyes perceive that as white. So yeah, the only way that we would interpret green coming out of a star would be if it made only green light, and apparently that's just not a thing that happens because of the whole black body spectrum thing. Some of this is way over my head, but that's the best answer I can come up with there. Good question though. Old friend of the channel, Sai, asked, in your last lightning round video, you talked about some of the inherent problems and tensions with capitalism. Oh, great. We're going back to this. One of the big sources of our problems with capitalism is our legal requirement that corporations maximize shareholder profit at all costs. Have you looked into B corporations? There's also a triple bottom line, but I'm not sure if that would stand up in court. Oh, boy. For somebody who's so uncomfortable talking about, like, economics and political stuff, I guess I say just enough of it for you guys to keep asking questions about it. Okay, so the quick answer is no. I have not spent much time looking at B corporations. I'm not very familiar with it. I just did a quick search, and what it looks like to me is it's basically like a movement to encourage corporations to take in sort of the public good as part of their overall ethos by certifying them with a B standard kind of thing. So, I mean, this is something I would have to look much more into to be able to speak with any kind of education or authority on this. But yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of anything that helps to sort of correct the ills of capitalism, as it were. So yeah, I don't know how effective the B corporation thing might be. I just kind of keep coming back to the idea that eventually we're going to have to reconcile the fact that we're approaching a post-scarcity society. You know, with the rise of AI and with robotics, I mean, we're seeing such advancements in humanoid robotics right now. It is kind of getting into scary territory where, you know, some warehouse could just hire or buy a handful of robots that could work 24/7 and would not have to pay benefits or pay them anything for that matter. It's an upfront cost and then it's just profit after that. We are definitely going to have to get to a point where there's some other kind. I mean, you could look at universal basic income. There's like credit systems where people, you know, establish social credit in order to have some kind of monetization in their lives like that. Like I did a video a while back on the Venus Project, and Jacques Fresco, that was the guy that headed that up. I don't think that ever actually went anywhere. A lot of these ideas feel really pie in the sky right now. But I do feel like in 50 or so years, we're going to have to start looking into ideas like that because people aren't going to be able to hold down jobs because of robotics and AI. And it's either let everybody fall into poverty and bring everything down with it, or we find some way to circumvent that. I don't know if B Corporation is the way to do it, but I definitely see something in the future where we're going to have to wrestle with that in one way or another. My buddy Fishtail had a question. He asked, why do some people tend to base their belief system on sensational reports or presentations? Is it related to the fact that we tend to estimate risks based on how easy it is to remember instances of the risk? So the first thing that comes to mind for me anyway doesn't really have much to do with risk as much as just the fact that I say this every once in a while. Humans are emotional creatures. We like to think of ourselves as logical. We call ourselves Homo sapiens, meaning wise animal or whatever. We're really not that wise. We're really fundamentally emotional creatures, which is why sensational stuff sticks in our minds. That's why it appeals to us. That's why we gravitate toward it, because it makes us feel something. I think a big challenge of being a science communicator is taking scientific topics and making them emotional. Like if I'm good at this for any reason, it's because I'm not like a technical person. I feel like scientists, like really hardcore academic scientists, really struggle to communicate scientific topics because they say I don't know a lot. Like there's a lot of I don't know in science, and we need to get back to saying I don't know again. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a direct correlation between like religious services and say political rallies. Even concerts, musical concerts, there's a spectacle involved. There's something that engages all your senses and all of your emotions, and it gets you into a heightened state, and kind of short circuits the logical part of your brain and makes you feel something, and that feeling is what sticks. Like, I love the phrase, they say, people don't remember what you say to them, they remember how you make them feel. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Our emotions really are kind of like the operating system that we're all working on in our brains. So I think the people who effectively communicate ideas and beliefs are the ones that effectively use that operating system of emotionality to get those ideas across, and that's why it's more successful. Now, how that relates to risk, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I know that we are also terrible at managing or gauging risk in life. You know, like flying in an airplane is an incredibly low risk thing to do, but if something did go wrong, it goes spectacularly wrong. So that's why a lot of people have a fear of flying. And we're also kind of hardwired to avoid discomfort in risky situations. So we tend to apply like the worst possible scenario and make it a lot higher risk than it actually is. Again, we're emotional creatures. I think that's ultimately my answer to this question anyway. All right, next up, Brian Beswick asked, has the decline of Boeing affected your comfort with air travel? What a weird, what a weird coincidence that you would ask that. You know what? You know what my answer is? Yes. Actually, yes. Yeah, I flew to New York last month, and I never look at what plane it is when I buy a plane ticket. I just buy the ticket. It's like I go for price and I go for time because I don't want to fly first thing in the morning if I can help it. But for the first time probably ever, as I was buying my plane ticket, I was looking to see what the plane was like, and yeah, a lot of them were Boeings, and I did not like that. I am not good at assessing risk. Pot calling the kettle black here. But yeah, Boeing's having a rough time, man. Not just with air travel, but space travel. They still haven't gotten Starliner up in the air or up into the space with people on it or anything. To go into all that is way more than I could go into in this video. But to answer just a quick answer to your question, yeah, it actually has. It's made me actually look at what the planes are now. But I'm sure there's very little chance that every door is going to fly off. And Donna Sawyer asked, is there any monitoring in place to detect a collision to another planet or moon that could change its orbit, maybe even causing it to enter or interfere with Earth? Okay, so another planet or moon? So, okay, this is an interesting question because what we're mostly concerned with are asteroids. Planets or moons, I mean, I think they're all being monitored all the time. We're always keeping an eye out on the planets and moons and stuff. I don't think there's very much risk anytime in our lifetimes or even in the next several millennia that a moon, say of Jupiter, could fly out of orbit and start heading our way. I mean, those things have been flying around Jupiter for billions of years. I don't think they're going anywhere at this point. I think they're all pretty stable orbits at this point. But something as large as a planet or a moon, I think is something that we would see coming pretty easily. But it's the asteroids that bother us, because asteroids, they don't reflect a lot of light, and a lot of times it's kind of scary. We find out that there's like an asteroid that's kind of crossing Earth's orbit, and we only have a few weeks to prepare. Like, that's the scary stuff. But to answer your question, I don't think that NASA or anybody is specifically monitoring planets or moons with that in mind, but I think we've always got eyes in the sky watching all the planets all the time. So yes and no. We're watching them, but not specifically for that. That would be my answer. Now, before we get to the last question, I want to call out some of the new Patreon supporters and channel members that have signed up in the last month. I appreciate you guys so much. You're supporting the channel financially and keeping things afloat, keeping the lights on. I love you guys. So we got on Patreon, we got Elon S., who I answered his question a minute ago. We got Trish Chamelik, Ride Runner, Scott L., Rafe Zero Humor Singer, another new guy, thank you so much. Floricia Rockera, Ryan Slavinsky, which I know a Ryan Slavinsky. I don't know if this is the Ryan Slavinsky I know. If it is, thank you, and if it's not, thank you. Lord Randall and Tony. We've also got YouTube members Horatio Guevara, Jim Early, Daniel Cahoon, Brian Karsh, Brady, Holly Stevens, Puka Hare, Daniel Hollingsworth, Branda Oberg, Ozilloraptor, Harrison Cook, Glenn Holland, Aussie Kicking Back, Carl Hill, and Dylan Swearing. All right, thank you guys so much. If you would like to join Patreon, just go to patreon.com/answerswithjoe. You can get early access to videos. You get exclusive live streams and all kinds of just cool stuff that other people don't get to see. Same thing with the members. Just hit the join button down below. All right, Philip Shane asked, what's the strangest historical fashion trend? Interesting. I did several videos on the Victorian age a couple of years ago now. And they did a lot of crazy stuff. The thing about the women putting belladonna extract into their eyes, which is a poison, but it made their their irises open up so that they looked doe-eyed or whatever. I would say poisoning yourself to look good is a pretty wild fashion trend. Also, by the way, I'm just going to shout out this video real quick. I saw a video from Crash Course that John Green hosted about tuberculosis and the history of it and where we are now with it and everything. It's a great video. Definitely recommend it. Go check it out. But he was talking about how tuberculosis was kind of a fashion trend for a while. It was fashionable to look sickly because tuberculosis made you skinny. It shrunk down your body. It kind of created these big, made your eyes look big because they were sunken in and everything. A lot of what we see is like sort of the gothic ideal, like a lot of the Tim Burton stuff that you see, that came from tuberculosis. So I would say fetishizing a disease is a weird historical fashion trend. I mean, you could definitely look at like the corsets that women used to wear that actually made it hard for them to breathe. You could look at the ancient Chinese tradition of foot binding. That was pretty extreme. I think the funny thing about this question is everything that we consider strange is just strange to us today. Why do I keep doing this? I mean, I remember when Jenkos were a fashion thing. I mean, everybody was into wearing pants that were the size of hot air balloons. So I'm sure there's plenty of things that we do today that in the future they're going to think is a crazy fashion trend. Or if I went into the past, if I packed a bag to travel to the past, like the first question that I answered, I would probably want to wear something other than t-shirts and shorts because I might get whipped in the street for it. So yeah, I would say there's no such thing as a strange fashion trend in the time that those fashion trends are happening. It's only a temporal thing. How's that for an answer? So if you would like to get a question answered, just sign up to be a Patreon member at the solar system level, and yeah, I'll do my best to answer it. And if you don't want to get a question answered, but would like to see me answer other questions, just hit that subscribe button down below. Don't worry, it's free. But most subscriptions aren't free. Yeah, we're kind of living in the subscription age now, aren't we? Pretty much everything you buy now comes with a subscription nowadays. Which isn't all bad. I mean, if it's something that you use on a regular basis, it makes it easier and convenient and whatnot. But, sometimes you stop using that thing, and then you've just got a money vampire. But thankfully, there's a wooden stake you can use on those vampires, and that's today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Or maybe they're a silver bullet. Or garlic. Or sunlight. There's a lot of ways to kill vampires when you think about it. Anyway, what Rocket Money does is they keep an eye on your bank account so you don't have to. They keep track of your recurring expenses and presents them to you in an easy-to-understand way. So instead of digging through multiple months of bank statements, you just pull up your Rocket Money account and boom, there's all the subscriptions you're paying for. Even the ones you didn't realize you were paying for. Like, when I signed up for Rocket Money, I found out that I was paying for 2 different subscriptions to HBO Max somehow. Well, guess what? I'm not anymore. I mean, I like Game of Thrones, but come on. But it's not just subscriptions, it's also bills and utilities, and if one of your bills has a big huge jump in price, Rocket Money will see it, and they'll notify you, and you know what's even cooler? They can actually negotiate for you to lower the price. They can also keep track of your expenses, let you know when your account's getting low, which helps prevent overdraft fees. In fact, the average Rocket Money user saves up to $740 a year. That's money you can save for a rainy day, and guess what? Rocket Money can help with that too, with automatic savings deposits. Right now, there are over 5 million people using Rocket Money to get a handle on their finances, and together they've saved over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. It takes work off your plate, reduces your stress, and it helps grow your bank account. And you can try it for free when you sign up at rocketmoney.com/joescott. It costs absolutely nothing to start, and if you like what you see, you can unlock more features when you sign up for a premium account. So once again, that's rocketmoney.com/joescott, or just click the link down in the description. So that wraps up this month's lightning round. For those who follow the channel, I have been posting kind of lightly lately. This will probably go on for another month or two. We're just kind of reworking some stuff. I'm giving myself a little bit of space to work on some bigger projects, and I think you're going to be really excited when you see them. I know I'm really excited to be working on them, but I appreciate your patience. I love you guys, and I thank you for being here. And Cool things on the way, I promise. If this is your first time here, then this is a very random kind of video for you to watch for the first video. Maybe watch this one. This is more my regular style. Or you can look at the sidebar if you're watching on your browser. Take a look. If you enjoy it, please do subscribe. I come back with videos normally every Monday. Right now it's every other Monday, but we'll get back to that soon. But that's it for today. Thank you guys for your questions, and thank you guys for watching. Now go out there, have an eye-opening rest of the week, stay safe, and I'll see ya in 2 Mondays. Love you guys. Take care.